Well, let me start with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I spent the first couple hours talking to people about it. What was your assessment of that 2 hour conversation, Bret Baier?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it started obviously rocky. And Elon said that it was an attack. And there's some question about that, but either way, it finally did start. And it was a long conversation, and I listened to pretty much all of it. I think it's free flowing, and a lot of people listened to it. I wasn't struck by a lot of news, like new territory. But for people who maybe haven't tuned in, it could, expand the questions about some of the policies that he'll be going up against with Vice President Harris.
Yeah, I thought what he did was stay on message, Trump. I thought he stayed on message, and Elon Musk, he's very good at some things, but conducting a 2 hour interview is not really a skill set. He's practiced much, but he did a very fine job. Not the job you did on Dan Goldman, though. And I want to go back to that because Congressman Goldman is a very smart guy. If you've been a prosecutor with the Southern District of New York, you didn't get that because someone wanted to give you a job. That's the Stanford law. He's very good. You caught him out, and you weren't trying to ambush him, but I've got my notes from that because I was watching the show before the panel last night. His explanation of why Kamala Harris has not come and spoken to you, well, the time isn't right. We've had a period of significant upheaval. She has to decide where she wants to be. Were you as surprised as I was by his answers?
Yeah, it was. I mean, this is the whole rub on critics of the vice president, saying she's kind of finding her way as she goes as far as policy. And as I mentioned, the one time that we heard Kamala Harris in her own voice about policy, there's a lot of left policies there that come under scrutiny. And she doesn't want to embrace all of the Biden policies because that has some vulnerabilities in it as well. So right now, basically what he said is she's an open canvas, and she's trying to find the paintbrush.
That's exactly, and it's mystifying to me that of course, other networks don't want to cover Fox, but it's mystifying to me that admission against interest, as prosecutors would call it, has not made the rounds. Because when he said she has to decide who she wants to be, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, the reason she's not giving interviews is they're polling. They're trying to figure out what she needs to say to get people to vote for her. And that's not a good way to campaign for president, Bret, I don't think. How do you assess that as a tactic?
I think authenticity is by far the thing that sells the most, the thing that people are attracted to, authenticity. Listen, Jesse Helms won his Senate race in North Carolina again and again. Even though some of his policies were way on the right, they came away, North Carolinians, with, well, I know who he is. He tells it like it is. And he actually got some votes in the middle and even on the left because of that. Donald Trump is who he is. I think there are questions even inside his campaign if he could be even more disciplined about sticking to policies and differences. But he is who he is.
And that is what came through for 2 hours last night. Everything is known about Donald Trump. I think I wrote a piece for Fox News this morning that the vice president is not ready to be president. And we know that Trump has done the job and we know what to expect. It will come down to 3 states. I just said this to Eric Hobby, who's running up in Wisconsin against Tammy Baldwin: Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I really don't think the map much matters. I think Trump's going to win Arizona, and Nevada's a toss-up. But in Pennsylvania, Bret, what is your sense of where that state is right now?
Well, it's closer. I think it was breaking towards Trump under the Biden race. It is closer. And, I think that this enthusiasm obviously is a bump, and the Democratic convention will be a bump. But as far as policy, figuring out where Kamala Harris is on fracking is a big deal. She now says she's for it. That's a big deal for Pennsylvania. Do they believe her is a big deal. And some of the other policy things, there is a underground, probably 2, maybe even 3 point polling difference sometimes when you get to former President Trump. People say, no, I'm not, but they do once they say that.
Let me play for you one cut from Elon's conversation with Donald last night, cut 21.
I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country
You don't
left
have a country
at that
left.
point.
Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. You know, we think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, you know, the four. But it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from
Yeah,
everywhere. And I had to stay in
yeah, I think
Mexico.
this is a super important
Yeah.
point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico. To
No,
be clear,
Mexico
it's
less,
it's just it's just
less
it's
than
just the
the others.
border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the
We're
U.S.
already
So
overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York. New York, and I love that place, and what they're doing to it is horrible.
You know what he's referring to, Brett? He was watching
Yeah.
Special Report. I guarantee you he was watching Special Report before he did that interview because of the story you ran on New York last night. And I think
Yeah.
maybe this is the whale beneath the ocean. It's going to come up again. It's going to dominate this campaign.
Well, I agree with you. I do think there has to be a tighter, better answer to the Senate immigration bill. That's what Democrats, as predicted, are hanging their hat on. That Donald Trump told Republicans not to vote for it so he can have the issue. And you can get an answer that's nuanced. J.D. Vance did it on the Sunday shows. That says that bill was not the right bill. It wouldn't have solved the problem, number one. Number two, Biden-Harris could have solved the problem on day one if they had kept the executive orders in place and not reduced or removed 96 of them.
Can she run away from a clip that I referenced last night on Special Report? I want to play it for you. It's cut number 32. Takes about 30 seconds. Cut 32. Harley.
Here with the Center for Worker Justice. I want to know, when you become president, would you be committing to close immigration detention centers?
Absolutely, on day one.
Absolutely on day one, Bret Baier. Does what she said in 2019 matter in 2024?
Until she sits down for an interview where she literally goes through all of these policy shifts, which are major ideological shifts, until she does that point by point, it matters a lot. And those ads will be chock full of them.